Hello, everybody of YouTube. What is up? This is Poods for another video of on something. I guess I don't know. This one's been speaking to me for a little while now, because it keeps coming up, and I was planning on keeping it silly and stuff for a little while longer, I guess. But let's get into some more serious stuff. Let's do a serious one. Maybe tomorrow it'll be silly. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. But all I do know is you know, as a young man, it's super frowned upon for me as a young man to be like single, right? And like accept my aloneness, right? Which I think is kind of weird, right? Why is people so obsessed with it? That is a whole thing. That's like a weird concept that I could probably make a video on that, right? Like, why are people so obsessed with it? We'll probably hit a lot of it on this video, honestly, but or for a young girl either, right? I mean, I don't think this one really needs to be like sex based or whatever, right? It's just us as people, right? Why is it so weird to like be alone and be like content with it, right? I get that it's like not necessarily promoting the continuation of society and stuff like that, but I'm also not telling you to stay alone for forever, right? The whole point of this is, why is it so weird for a young adult or whatever to just kind of say, I'm gonna focus on me. I'm not gonna worry about the dating or whatever, the dating pool. I'm not gonna worry about dating culture, all of it together. I don't care. I don't want anything to do with it at the moment. I want to focus on what's going on in my life, right? I can tell you from some backstory of me, right? Like since I was like 14 in high school, right? I got like my first girlfriend or whatever, and then after I broke up with her, I got to the next girl, and then after that, it was another girl, and then in college, I had like multiple girlfriends immediately after each other and stuff. And then I built this cycle of like, oh, you can never be single or alone for, more than a month, right? And there's also like, when I witness this stuff, right, when I see like people break up and stuff, they're always hunting for the next thing or whatever, or they're just trying to go for a rebound or whatever and stuff. And I think it's all stupid. It's very stupid, right? Because it's honestly, it's just flexing how valueless you are to yourself and to people, right? Don't you want to find like the right person, right? Like everyone says, you can't not date because then you're gonna cut off the right person. What if the right girl comes, right? Well, what if I'm not the right dude at the time, right? It just doesn't make sense, right? What if I'm trying to focus on my life and I'm waiting for the right time for the right girl? She'll fall in line and went with the right time at the right time, right? Or being the right person at the right time, right? But if you're not ready for it, then it's all screwed to hell, right? It doesn't matter, right? You're gonna fuck it up anyways, right? Because you're not content with yourself. You're still stuck in your own bullshit, right? So sometimes, I think it's really important to focus on like, what are you looking for in life and stuff, and instead of hopping from the next girl to prove that you can get the huzz and you could pull and all this stupid stuff that people say and whatever, right? Like, what if it's just important to say, hey, I got to focus on music. I got to focus on my job. I got to focus on making money. I got to focus on my faith. I got to focus on exercising, right? I think these are all very valuable things as a person to have, right? That set you up for more success in life and stuff, right? Because what happens when let's say you do that. Let's say you do focus on yourself, right? Then now you have this new sense of value, right? And what happens when you run into the next girl or next boy for that matter, right, that just comes in your life and thinks you're hot or whatever, right, and then you open the door to that person and then all of a sudden one thing leads to another and then you're in a weird relationship and you hate this person, right, and you were like, oh, dude, this is like terrible for me, right? Not only did you make me stop working out because I have to focus on your BS now, I got to focus on all this or whatever, right, you're just not getting certain stuff done anymore, right, and it's important to have a lot of value in yourself, as well as being content with being alone, right? Because if you're content with being alone and yourself and who you are, right, then you don't have to keep hunting down the next thing, right? Or you don't have to fill that void that is the aloneness or whatever, right? Once you say, hey, I'm alone, it's all right, right? Then you're alone and you're all right. It doesn't really matter. You're not looking for anything. You're not waiting for something. You're just hey, if it happens, it happens, right? And I'll know when it happens. I'll know the right girl. I'll know what she looks like, right? So I know I'm a dude and stuff, but I think this is completely goes for the girls too, right? And I think in a lot of ways, it would be very helpful for anyone listening to this advice to take the advice, right? Of saying, hey, put a break on the dating, focus on your life, focus on your friendships. I think that's just a super, super important thing, because friendships, are supposed to stick with you for forever if you really have good friends, right? And stuff like that. But if you're always hopping from relationship to relationship and stuff, and then they always end in weird ways, you end up like hating the other person, they end up hating you, and they end up slandering your name, and you end up saying bullshit about them, and it's just ugly, and it's not really worth it, man. Sometimes it's worth it to focus on what you got going on, what things you could do better, and what things you can hopefully do better and bring to your next relationship with the right person, right? That has the same values, right? And you'll be able to see that, right? Because you already got that going on, right? You're not desperate, right? And I know that desperate word is kind of hard to hear for some people, because they're like, I'm not desperate, but if desperate also, it doesn't just look like the dude who's alone just trying to get anything he can get, right? Or girl for that matter, right? But it also looks like the boy, girl who attracts a lot of attention, right? And can pick up multiple people, right? And all this other stuff. This is very desperate, right? It's almost like I need this guy, that guy, this dude, this lady, this girl, whatever. I don't, it doesn't matter, right? I need all these people to validate that I'm like the shit, right? Which doesn't matter, right? If you need these people to validate that you're the shit, then you're not the shit, right? You just kind of, maybe you're sexy. I mean, that's probably all you got, right? But do you have talents, right? Do you have really cool lived experiences? Do you can you say no? Can you say no, right? Saying no is really a very sexy thing in itself, right? It's because it shows conviction, right? And that's my favorite word these days, right? Conviction, right? Being solid and knowing what you need, and you're going to do anything you can to get to that goal, right? It's in ways it's selfish, right? Being alone and focusing on yourself, it's in the word, right? It's selfish, right? But is selfishness such a bad thing? And then it even bridges the gap to me to selflessness, right? It goes from selfish to selflessness immediately. There's the bridge right in between, right? And if you take that moment for being selfish in a good way, right? In a good way, not in a weird way, right? There's a healthy way to do it, right? But if you focus on yourself for a good amount of time, you really get yourself to where you want to be and stuff like that. And then it bridges the gap to once you find that next person and stuff that's looking for the exact thing that they want. Maybe they're exactly like you. To be like, I think this is the exact thing that people are always talking about, the perfect situation type thing, right? It bridges the gap to that selflessness, right? Then you could recognize who that person is, what you're looking for, right? And you can say, yeah, this is going to be great. We could get married. We could start a life together. We could do anything together, right? And that's a serious thing, right? How many dudes do you hear in their, I work with a lot of older gentlemen and stuff, and I love it. I absolutely adore these guys and ladies as well. But I take a lot of inspiration from my fellow men and stuff, and to hear so many dudes at our older generation, they just freaking hate their wives, man, and it sucks. And the divorce rate is so high for a Christian society, dude, right? Based on Christian society or whatever. I guess kind of now it's getting more complicated and stuff, but not that's a topic for another video. But for so many to end up in divorces and hating their wives, and what's that classic joke? Oh, I'd rather jump off a bridge than go home to the wife or whatever and stuff. Now, obviously, that's not everybody. I know a really good amount of people that are really content. I mean, it is 50-50. I believe that's the stat right now, or at least it was a few years ago. But yeah, it's, who wants that life? It's miserable to be like, oh, I don't want to go home to my wife because she's a nightmare, and I married her for the wrong reasons because I was desperate. It's pretty lame. It's pretty lame. And I don't want our generation to do that, right? I don't want the younger generation to do that. I don't want the millennials doing that or whatever, right? I don't want generations after me doing that. I want everyone to find who they're supposed to find, right? Stop focusing on the huzz and oh, I can pull. Oh, I got mad pull. Or yeah, I got my roster. Look at this roster. All of those things are just another form of desperate, right? And maybe you guys are laughing at me like, look at this incel. What does this incel know? I don't know much. You're probably right, right? But I know myself, and I know that I've gone through that challenge. I'm only right now about to approach one whole year of not dating, and that boy has given me some crazy perspective on stuff. But I still have my challenges, right? With aloneness, right? Being that only child I was, right? It was tough being like focusing on being alone. It felt like a punishment, right? Like no one wants to hang out with you, right? You're a weirdo, right? But that's not exactly it. Um, Sometimes, and this is gonna sound cliche and nerdy or whatever, but sometimes they're the weirdos, and you're just the regular guy doing the regular guy thing. So yeah, focus on yourself, focus on what's important, and then the right person will come. I believe that's how that will work at the right time, right? Um, and don't be desperate. The desperate stuff is annoying, right? And I see it in the culture of today. I just see it all as one big desperate thing, right? And I don't think I'm a weirdo for thinking that, but other people definitely do. But I think those are the people that are trapped in that cycle. I challenge you, if you just gone through a breakup or whatever, try to, however long the breakup was, try to be single for at least half of that duration. Or I think a good standard is just go for 1 year. I think 1 year of solitude and just focus on being with friends and family and goals and stuff like that is really, really important, especially for young dudes. And then if you're younger than 25, I really don't think you should probably just not worry about the huzz or whatever or dating at all. You should really focus on getting down to a science, right? Whatever you're into, right? Whether that's like tech stuff, like figure it all out, right? Like be a genius. You know what I'm saying? If you're into music, be a really good musician. Like have no questions, right? Be ready for every gig, right? If you're into reading, read a lot more, right? Know everybody's book, know every quote from every book, right? And it just makes you such a more valuable person to the world, yourself, and to that next partner that you will eventually meet. Because no one's destined to be alone forever, right? It's just if you continue that sad path of desperation, you'll find yourself in a weird path of being alone, right? I think it's almost a sick joke. There's so many things in life that are these sick jokes, right? You chase women and you chase people or whatever, whoever for forever, right? Only to get that exact thing, but then to despise it in your older years, right? That's the jokes of, oh, I hate going home to my wife or whatever, right? Or I hate my husband. My husband's an idiot, right? And all men are stupid. Right? I mean, it all derives from that one thing, right? But if you focus on yourself, I can almost guarantee you won't have that outcome. But I'll let you know once I start dating again, so I can tell you more of that perspective, if this time was even worth it, and stuff like that. Honestly, I might go for the next year too. I think this it's a little bit hazy in my head where the exact point of ending the relationship I was last in was, but it's about a year now. It was almost last summer, so we're just at the start of this summer. I'm going to try to ride out through all of summer without really being concerned. And obviously, I talk to girls and stuff like that, and I'm not, I don't hate women or anything like that, or the opposite sex or whatever. I don't, and I think, anyone that's in a similar situation, don't do that. That's obvious incel behavior. You don't need to do that, right? We can all be cordial and happy and stuff. And if someone's coming on to you or whatever, cool, right? Reminds you that, you are still sexy, right? You still got what it's got. But you need to act on it, right? That doesn't really prove much. That just proves more desperation, right? I recently had a gig, and this lady was flirting with me, and my band was like laughing about it. I was definitely a little. I had a few, and they were like, and I showed this to my friends, but I didn't go anywhere with it. I was just goofing around. But dude, this girl's got a boyfriend, right? Like, what the heck, right? And thank God I realized that. But I was about to take her number, which was should never have done that one. I should never have done that one. I should have stopped there and said and stuck with my conviction, right? But luckily, something else was in the air, and when boyfriend comes back around, I was like, oh, yo, I'm not a absolute dingus, dude. I know what right from left, right? So I chose not to continue with that, and I just joked around, and I made some laughs. I made the boyfriend laugh too, and stuff like that. But boy, could that have been nasty. That could have been an ugly situation. But if I focused on my original goals, this would have never happened, and my desperation never would have gone through. Because this girl was nothing for me to, aspire for. You know what I mean? She's just another, girl that was drunk at a bar gig that appreciated my drums. So, not worth my time, right? But worth some fun and some laughs and stuff like that. It was a very good time, and we had our laughs. So, with that being said, everybody, don't be desperate. Go focus on yourself for a good amount of time, and have a great day.